All right, so here we are. It's week 3, and this is live session number 2. Last night we worked on the images, the icons, and tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of putting together the basic elements for the kiosk. So before I get started, I know I read this, but before I get started, I'm going to just go through this a little bit more to make sure that I touch the points that I am going to be working with so that you're clear on it. So for your assignment this week, we're going to design an interactive kiosk at a large superstore. It's a 2-week project, final design and presentation due for your assignment in week 4. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to put the elements together for our individual panels. I'll show you how I did this, and I'm going to try to show you, in my opinion, the easiest way to go about doing this so that you can have some success at it and you get some benefit out of it as well. So the kiosk will be placed close to the entrance of the store and is used for the customers to find their way around the store and be able to search to find the location of a specific item. I have my PDF sitting here, and I'm going to go back in and I'm going to show you how my PDF works. And if you take a look at my PDF, it sort of does that. I mean, it does show you in a very basic way how to navigate the store, and it also shows you some of the items that are available in the store. Now, I did all this, and you can do this if you want, but you don't have to do this. You can actually, I'll let you get away with doing the opening screen, the navigation screen, and the 4 or 5 screens. It's actually 5 because there are 5 different departments. The 5 screens that walk you through all the different departments. If you do that much, I'll be more than happy with you. And then next week, what we're going to do is we're going to put all this together in Adobe InDesign, and I'm going to show you how we can upload this after we link everything together in InDesign. I'm going to show you how to upload this online so that you can actually go and you can see this thing work interactively. And at the same time I do that, I'm going to show you how to export this as an Adobe PDF. And we're going to do more or less the same thing with this Adobe PDF. We're going to create an interactive PDF. So in the end, you're going to end up with this nice little, if you do the projects, of course, you're going to end up with this nice little online presentation that you could use for your portfolio. And you'll also end up with a really nice little PDF, interactive PDF, which shows that you know how to handle this stuff, which I think is a very good thing. And that's what this course is really all about. Okay. So next thing is that you have a choice between several existing chain stores. You choose one from the options below. Each type of store has 5 general departments listed. So I think I mentioned to you that this really comes down to approximately 6 pages. You have a page which is your welcome page, and then you have your navigational page, and then you have your individual pages that show how to get to your departments. So there's 7. 5 for the different departments, 1 for the main navigational page, and 1 for the welcome page. And if you put that much together, you'll have a pretty nice little presentation. Keep in mind that in reality, if this was being done, this would be a much larger project. But this is something that we're doing on a very small scale. The technology and the functioning that this does is just as good, and you're learning what you need to know by doing this project. So I'm anxious to see what you did with it. I have to be totally honest with you. I had a lot of fun doing mine. It wasn't easy, but it was a lot of fun to do, and I'm very satisfied with what it came out to look like. You can choose Walmart, Target, Lowe's, or Home Depot. I chose Home Depot. That was the one that I chose. You could also choose Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You could also, well, that's it. And you could also choose a store if you want to choose a store of your own. I have no problem with you doing that. However, I caution you, before you go ahead and do this, you need to notify me that you're doing it and get my approval. Don't just go ahead and choose a store without notifying me and letting me know. You got to let me know that you're not using one of the ones that are supplied, but you're going to use one of your own. Okay, please remember that. It's very important. So I'm not going to go through this because we did this last night. And of course, you will be designing a minimum of 4 screens. And I told you this is totally incorrect because the bottom line is there's 5 different departments. So you should be creating one for each department. And then you're going to create the main screen, and you're going to create a landing screen or an opening screen. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. A simplified store map in AI format is provided for you to use, and you can download it right there. Now, the thing that I want to tell you about this is I actually downloaded this simplified store map, and I used it. And the reason that I used it is because it's more or less telling you that you don't have to. I mean, it's not like saying you absolutely have to use it, but they're providing it for you. So in my opinion, since they're providing it for you, it's probably a good idea to base your work on it. I have no trouble with that whatsoever. I did it. If I can do it, you can do it. And it does give you somewhere to begin. So download the simplified store map, and we're going to use that to build your panels. You must customize this map if you would like, but remember, it's best to keep it clear, simple for the user. This is something that when you do this, you don't want to go nuts with this. You want to keep this as simple as possible, but at the same time, you have to get the information on it that makes sense. So there's a balance between what's important, and it's just like any good infographic. You have to put enough information that it tells a story, okay? So focus on the required parts of the assignment for the week. There's 2 parts. We talked about last night creating the icons, and I demonstrated how I created a couple of my icons. Hopefully, I did enough work with that you have some idea as to how to approach it. The bottom line is you decide what your icons are going to be. In some way, shape, or form, your icons should visually relate to the store, the branding, and if there's a website, probably a good way to get yourself oriented would be to go and take a look at the website and see how they designed the website. Because even though they probably designed this website, they're probably using their branding for that website. And so those cues that you can get from looking at a website, so far as the colors are concerned, the type of fonts, you could probably pick up photos, which is what I did. There's an awful lot that you can gain by taking a look at the website before you actually begin the project. That is what I did, and I recommend that you do it. Like I said, I got pictures off of the website. I got graphic ideas from the website. Now, I didn't literally go in and copy. Oh, I also got copy points. I went in there and I looked at some of the copy that they were using, and I found copy that I thought would work for each individual department. And all these things you can do by just going in and checking out the website. So that's why I want to make sure that I mention that to you and that you do it. So this week, we're going to rough out the user interface and the content of our main screens. Consider the flow from screen to screen. I can show you how I handle the flow from my screen. Choose what text you need for each screen and think about the screens, how the screens interact with one another. Carefully think through and plan the user experience. The user experience can be very simple in this, and I'm going to go through mine and talk about mine shortly. It's very simple, very basic. There's a couple of things you want to accomplish. In my mind, what I wanted to accomplish is I wanted to have a welcome screen that is sitting waiting for the viewer when they come in. They're going to click on the welcome screen. It's going to take them to a main navigational screen, and the main navigational screen gives them the options to click into each individual department, and it will show a trail or a guided map kind of a deal where you see the lines telling you how to navigate to that particular department. And then if you go in and you click the icon again in the department, what it does is it brings up another screen that shows some of the product that's in the department that you're going to. Now again, you don't have to go to the extreme that I went. I went to that extreme because I wanted you to see in a better way how this thing should look, okay? I just am more concerned that you get some of it done. You're probably not going to have enough time to do all the things that I do. I've got a little bit more experience with all this, and I was able to do it rather quickly, okay? So consider your experience with interactive kiosks and what you may find helpful or irritating. So that's another thing, you know. Think about how you can make this work simply. Now, design 5 symbol icons to represent the departments. Use Illustrator. We talked about that last night. We worked on that last night. You have to do that. That's part of the assignment for this week, is to do that. Plus, you have to rough out the user interfaces as well. So it's a 2-part deal. 5 icons and roughed out interfaces. That's what we're looking for. To guide you in your symbol icon design, refer to the week's readings on successful icon design. Remember to keep them simple and recognizable. That's going to be a saving grace. If you guys can do this simply and make it recognizable, and yet at the same time make them nice graphically, you're hitting a home run. Use the Illustrator shape tools and avoid small details. Again, keep it simple. Use InDesign or Illustrator to lay out your preliminaries and plans. My recommendation for you is to use Illustrator to lay everything out right now. I used Illustrator to lay out my basic panels. After I got my basic panels laid out, I set it up so that I could create PDFs of each of the individual panels, which I then brought into Adobe InDesign, and I basically pasted them in InDesign, and then I just built on top of them. So that's how I did it, and I'm going to walk through that process tonight and next week, okay? And then, of course, you're going to save this as a multi-page PDF, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do that before the night's over, and there's the information about how you set up your PDF submission, which you probably know about, okay? So always keep the native working files for future revisions if needed. Even after this class is over, you will need them when you reach your portfolio or capstone class. See, this is what I would like you to understand. If you do a nice enough job on this, you will really have a nice portfolio piece, and you'll have a really nice capstone piece. So I just genuinely hope that, you know, you think about that when you produce this and put the effort into it, because it could be worth it in the end with a nice piece that you'd be making with this. Okay? All right. This is a kiosk. Here's the kiosk. This will give you an idea of what we're talking about. There's the screen. Now, I mean, our kiosk is slightly different than this, and there are many, many, many types of different kiosks, but this is just a general purpose kiosk. I thought I would just quickly pop that up to show you what a general purpose kiosk looks like. Touch screen, you're going to touch, and it's going to walk you through a series of individual panels that is going to display different information for you. So there's just a quick look at the kiosks. All right, now before we start working, what I wanted to do is I wanted to come in here, and by the way, I'm going to get rid of this thing here. Let me get rid of this. I've had enough of this. I'm tired of looking at myself. If I can get it to open. Come on, you. Come on. Oh boy. There we go. All right. Up. And it went right away. Oh, come on. Here we go. Come on. And stop video. Got it. Okay, good. All right. So, yeah. So, these are the logos, or the icons. I keep saying logos, but they're not. This is actually the Home Depot logo. And then these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 icons that I created. Now, my goal here was to use the principles of design, graphic design, and to use the Home Depot logo as a basis for my thinking of my symbols for the lumber, paint, tools, yard and garden, and electrical. So if you take a look at what I did, I first of all picked up the colors, which basically are white and orange. Then I thought I'm probably going to need to incorporate one more color. What would be a really good color to incorporate with this? When I went to the site, I got the overall feeling that black would probably work very well with this, so I decided that my third color would be black. In certain cases, I use 3 colors, white, orange, and black, and in others, there's like, I guess actually only one really. The yard and garden, I only use 2 colors in that. Well, what I tried to do is I tried to use the imagery in a similar way as I possibly could. I went with the general shape of the logo. All right, each one of these shapes are more or less the same exact shape as this. And the text is being treated in almost the exact same way. Now, it isn't on an angle. This is on an angle. These are on their own different lines, but I have them clipping slightly. I went through this last night with you. I have them clipping slightly because that's what the type does on the Home Depot logo. And I thought, well, that's one way that I can incorporate the look and feel of the Home Depot logo into the symbolism. Okay, and of course, each one of these shapes has a very simple shape that relates to, like, for instance, a lawn and garden. I got a water sprinkler, and there's a little sprig of what looks like grass or something. The painting, what I did was I tried to do a little bit something different with this and make the can look more like actually a paint can. And then I came up with this very cute dripping paint down at the bottom, which I think works really well. And then, of course, the text, which sort of clips slightly across the front. And then I had a series of like 5 tools, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually 6. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would get rid of one of the tools and then just replace it with the word tools like that. And of course, this is going to be in the orange, the white, and the black. And that works very well. And then the electrical gave me a little bit of trouble because the white of the bulb, it needed to be white. And then I needed something, I thought a black line would work really good. And then I had to get some orange in there, so I thought I'd have an orange glow around it. And then I got to the text here and I realized, oh boy, that text is going to be tricky. So what I did was I put an outline around the text. And I made the text black with a white outline, and I made the outline touch the edges so that, again, it sort of looked like the same kind of feel that you get in the Home Depot logo. And then, of course, the lumber, I just thought, well, okay, I'm in a situation where, in this case, I'd probably be better off to have a black background with the white type and then the orange in the wood. All right, so there are my symbols and there's my logos. So this is part of your submission. This would be my submission. So what I would do is I would go up to the File menu, and I would go Save As, and I would go to my desktop, because I did actually put a folder on my desktop. Let's see, where is it? Here it is, Week 3 PDFs. So this is a folder that I specifically created for my PDFs. Now, I'm going to save this as a PDF. So I'm saving my logos as a PDF. I hit save, and it writes the PDF for me. There it is. Now, when I go to my desktop, in that folder is this PDF. So the reason I'm doing this is because as I go through the steps of building this stuff tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save each one as a PDF. So at the end of the night, because you have a choice. You could either do all of this using artboards. You can use multiple artboards, or you can do like I did, where I did each one on its own unique artboard. I did everything separately. And what you can do that way is you can save each one of them as a PDF, and then what you can do is you can combine the PDF in Acrobat, and then you can have a multi-page PDF, which is what you have to submit. And I'm going to do all this tonight. Okay, so there is my logos. That you have to produce something like this. I gave you an idea. I tried to give you an idea of how I approach doing mine. Mine were all based on the general shape, the type, and the color scheme of the Home Depot. And then, of course, what I did is I incorporated a third color into most of them, which is black. I thought black worked extremely well with the white and the orange. So there are my elements. And as you can see, they're all fairly simple. They're a little bit on the unique side, but they all sort of relate to one another, and they're all rather cute. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to use your imagination. Use your creativity. Think about what you're designing and be a designer. This is actually a fun project if you allow it to be fun. If you don't make it fun, if you don't try to make it fun, if you don't enjoy the process of doing it, you're going to be miserable about doing it. Okay, and I mean, you don't want to be miserable as a graphic designer. I mean, as a graphic designer, you want to enjoy the work that you do. So that's why I'm saying try to think about this as something that can be a lot of fun and very enjoyable if you apply creative thought to it. All right, so here is the first thing we're going to work on, which is the welcome screen. So I'm going to show you how I built this. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to go to my interactive PDF. So here is one of the things that we're going to create next week. There are two of these. One of them is online and the other is this PDF. This PDF has the ability to link from pages to pages. It's right here. I'm going to show you how to do this next week. But add or edit links, you can come up here in your PDF. This is nothing more than a 12-page PDF. Do you see what it says right there? 12 pages. We are on page 1 of a 12-page PDF. And what I've done essentially is I've gone through this PDF. Watch what happens when I sit over top of the Home Depot. Nothing. Watch what happens when I sit over Welcome To. Nothing. But watch what happens when I come down here. See what happens? I get the little finger, which means essentially that that is a link, and when I click on it, I'm going to go somewhere else. That is part of the whole process here, is to come up with a way of moving from page to page or from panel to panel. That's the whole thing that I'm trying to achieve. And we'll do the same thing online, all right? So let's see where we go with this. So the first thing is you come here, and of course the copy reads, what can we do to help you? What can we help you find today? I'm sorry. What can we help you find today? That's the question. And just so that you know, that is actually something that they have on the Home Depot. That is a line of copy that I found on one of the panels in Home Depot. And I thought in the context of putting together a kiosk today, especially a kiosk where somebody's going to come in and try to navigate around the store, I thought that would be a really good statement to put there. So you might actually consider using a very similar statement like that no matter which store you choose, you know what I mean? Because ultimately that's what this kiosk is kind of doing. It's helping you set up a condition where you can go navigate around the store, find yourself the departments that you want. So I click on this and it brings me to this panel right here. What I'm calling this panel is the main navigational panel. On this panel, I have a series of links. And if I sit over top of that link right there, if I were to click this link, which I'm not going to do right now, if I clicked on that link, that would bring me back to the panel that we were just on. So I don't necessarily want to click on that link because I don't want to go back to the first panel. But that's what that link does. Now, each one of these little icons here are also a link. And each one of these links, each one of them goes to, and this is also, well, this is not set up, but you'll see it's set up on the others. Each one of these little buttons will go to another panel that does something a little different. So let's start off by clicking the Tools one. Now, what it does is it brings me to a panel that shows from the kiosk to where you go into that department, okay? Now, if I want, I can go back to the kiosk and I can come up to painting, and you see what it does is it brings me up to where I am in that department. It shows you how to get to that department. If I click the kiosk, it brings me back to the main panel. You get the general idea? Now, if I go to lumber and if I click lumber, it shows me how to get to lumber. But there's also something else. If I go over here and click this logo once again, what it does is it brings me into another panel that begins to show the content of the lumber department. Now, here's what you have to understand. This panel would probably be a very long and scrolling panel because there's a whole lot more stuff in lumber than just boards by feature, okay? Again, there's limitations to what we can do here, and I just wanted to give you a general idea of how this thing works, okay? So now I'm in and I'm looking at the lumber, the available lumber. I also have these little buttons down here. Each one of these little buttons down here takes me somewhere. So for instance, let's say I want, now notice this one is not active. The reason it's not active is because we're already in lumber. So it doesn't fire because we're in lumber. But if I click on the painting one, it takes me to the products in the painting department. If I come over here and click on the tools, it takes me to the product category for the tools. Now, if I want to go back to the main panel, all I have to do is come up here and click on this, and I'm brought back to my main panel, okay? I mean, this is, again, very, very much fun, and it looks like it might be difficult to do this, but I promise you it's not. It's not going to be difficult to do. Once you get started doing this, you're not going to have too much trouble with it. I'm going to go through the steps and show you exactly how it's done, and you're going to do something very similar for online, and we'll look at that next week. But anyway, that is your interactive EPUB PDF. That's one of the things that you can create here. I don't really believe you have to create this. I just did it because it's easy to do, and I think it's probably a really good thing for you to do. And the reason I say that is because you're going to have to put together a portfolio. And to do this as a portfolio piece would really be a great piece. So it is definitely something for you to think about. So I figured that at least I'll show you how to do that so that you can make the final decision as to whether you are in fact going to do it or not. Okay? The other one, which is the online version, you will have to do, and you will have to upload it, and I will show you how to do that. So we'll be cool with that. But again, as I say, this is kind of an option, but it's a really good option, and it is something that you might seriously consider doing. All right? So there it is, and again, as I say, it's actually fun. Once you get doing it, it is really a lot of fun. All right, so here we are. We're on this. This is our first page. I'm calling it the welcome page. Okay, and I guess technically that's what it is. It's a welcome page. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers panel, and I am going to hide the artwork that's on it. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of rebuild this thing. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to get the type tool, and I'm going to actually click and I'm going to drag. Control Z. All right, so there we go. That'll work. And what I want to do is I want to go welcome. Actually, I think it was all caps. WELCOME. Welcome to, and I think I have colon there. Okay, so welcome to, and I believe this is the right size, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what size it is. It is 41 point. I actually think that is the correct size. And what I want to do is, let me see here. I want to put a background of gray on it. So the background, let's see here, hide this thing. Okay, where's my background? Why am I not seeing my background? I'm going to create a new layer, okay, layer 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this background. G-R-O-U-N-D, background, okay. And I'm going to create a shape, basic shape, and it's going to cover the entire panel, right there. And it's black, so I'm going to go into my swatches, and I already have a gray in there. I've actually loaded this gray, and there is my gray. And let's take a look at my layers and see why I'm not seeing this. So let me see here. If I go Object, Hide Selection, there's my welcome to, and that's why my welcome to is on that layer. So let me bring this up and let me go to the redo layer. I have a layer up here called redo. All right, and that layer is actually the layer I'm going to build this on. So if I bring out my background layer and go Object, Show All, there's my background on the background layer. I'm not going to do anything more to the background, so I'm going to lock that layer. I'm going to lock those two layers. There's my hide layer, okay, and there is my redo layer. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to select this type, and that type is actually going to be the orange color, which I chose. There's my color. And as a matter of fact, last night I showed you how I'd fool around with the colors to do this in our live session last night. But one of the things that you can do if you want is come in here. Well, actually, the way I did it last night is probably the way to go, okay? And you want to click on this, and you want to make that orange. So there's your orange color, okay? Now notice that what I did was I have this thing center aligned, and I made the box go from edge to edge. So now this thing is centered right there. And I think it probably's got to come down just ever so slightly. But the bottom line is it's no big deal right this second. I will adjust it shortly. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Place, And I'm going to go in, I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go into my DES 240. And this is week 3, I believe. And I'm looking for all files logo. Nope, that's not it. Let's go to week 3. It is major panels. Nope, that's not it either. Week 3, it is in images, I think. There we go. And there's my Home Depot logo. This is a PNG file. Now, keep in mind that we are going to be using PNG files because PNG files have transparent backgrounds. And the important thing to understand is this is actually going to be, at least in part, a web project. So we probably want to use a PNG file when we save it. You could also save it as a JPEG, but keep in mind if you save it as a JPEG and if you have any kind of white border anywhere, you're going to get a white border and that might not look very well. With a PNG file, you get transparency, so that's why I'm using a PNG file for this. So I'm going to go place, and I actually think I've got to select it first and then go place. And then I'm just going to click, and it's huge. So again, I'm going to come in here and going to grab this thing and scale it down. I'll bring it down until I get it to a size that I want. Now, I did this before, and I'm not exactly sure in the end it's going to look exactly the same, but I'm not concerned that it does or it doesn't. I'm just trying to give you an idea how I made it, okay? So there, I'm going to make it about that size as well. Place it like about there, okay? And if I want, I can click on it. I can go to my align panel, and I'm aligning this to the artboard, and I'm going to center align it. So now I know that that thing is sitting right in the center. Okay, so I have welcome to, and then Home Depot. Those are my 2 elements. My next element that I'm going to put in here, let's go back to our layers and let's see what this looks like. Okay, so actually I'm a little bit big on that, and this is a little bit high, but again, does it matter too much? Not really. So what can I help you find today is the next thing, and let's see what size that is. That font size is, I'll tell you in a second, that font size is, it's 22 point, and it is got a negative tracking of 10. Okay, so let's go back in here now. And let's go and hide that layer. Hide that layer. There we go. And I'm going to come in here and again, I'll make sure that I'm on the redo layer, right? I'm going to click and I'm going to change the size of that to 22, 21, and we got to make it 22. So I'm going to bring it up 1, and I'm going to go -10, I think. -10, there we go. And I'm going to type in WHAT, what can we help you find today? And I can maybe even put a question mark on it. Who knows? You got to spell it right, right? You. There we go. Okay. And now what I want to do with this, it's center aligned. I'm going to come over here to my align panel once again. I have this set to align to artboard, and I'm going to click on the horizontal align center. There, and it goes to the center right there. And I think probably what I'm going to have to do with all of these elements, I'm going to have to move them down a little bit because I think they're probably a little bit too high. And I think probably what I'll do is I'll open this up and this up a little bit, move that down a little bit, and space it just a bit better. That's actually pretty good. I'm happy with that. See, and again, as I say, I'm not dead on concerned that I make this look 100% exactly like the other. I want it to look similar to the other. That's what's really most important here. Okay, so let's see what colors I got in here. So yeah, I'm missing one color. So what I need to do is I need to get cyan. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to Color Books, and I'm going to go to Pantone CMYK Coded, and I'm going to add this Pantone Process Cyan. Okay, so I added a color, Pantone Process Cyan, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to change it to, if I can get it to open, I'm going to change it to RGB and hit OK. All right, now I'm going to delete this or shut this. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to create a shape just like that. Let me make a shape that's just big enough to, and I'm going to go Edit Cut, and then I'm going to select that type, and I'm going to go edit, paste in back, and I'm going to maybe move it up just a tiny bit, about like that. That's probably pretty good. I'm going to click on both of these guys, and I am going to go to the Align panel, and I'm going to center align them. So now they're center aligned, and I'm going to move them down a little bit because I want to get a little bit different spacing going here, like that. That's probably pretty good. So now there it is. Let's go File, Save. There's my welcome screen, okay? So now, since this is complete, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this as a PDF so that when I get done with everything, I can go in and I can apply I can bring them all in. I'm sorry, bring them all into Acrobat, and I can combine them together. But you know what? I almost forgot something. I actually put an effect on all these things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on these two together, okay, and I'm going to go Object Group. Now, by grouping them together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop shadow on this, a drop shadow on this, and a drop shadow on this. By doing that, what's going to happen is the drop shadow is going to go on the outside of this and not on the type, which is what I want. So I'm going to select all three of these guys, and I'm going to go to the Effect menu, and I'm going to go down to Stylize, and I'm going to choose Drop Shadow. I'm going to hit Preview, and there is my settings is 75% actually. And here's the interesting thing. This is what I want you to understand. Adobe Illustrator has what you could say is a memory. It remembers things. Now, when I was fooling around with this earlier today, I made sure that I worked out my drop shadow so that it looks exactly the way I want it to look. I didn't want a big monstrous drop shadow. I wanted a very small and very understated drop shadow. So the mode that I choose, which is normal, is multiply. Multiply is the normal mode that you use when you create something like a drop shadow. So I always leave that at multiply because that's the one it should be. And you can go in and you can change the opacity however you want. You can go all the way to 100% and make it very dark like this. I'm going to make it just to show you 100% what that looks like. Okay? You see how it gets dark? And it actually don't look too bad that way. But 75% is where I decided I want it to be. So I'm going to make it 75. And then what you can do in here is you have an X offset and a Y offset. And all that X and Y offset really does is it moves around the positioning of that drop shadow. Okay? So if I were to come in here and let's say I wanted to make that 8. Now watch when I click on the Y offset. Can you see how that changed it? Now that's way too much. I'm not comfortable with that at all. So I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to make it 3 again because 3 is probably about where I want to be. There you go. And then the only other thing that you got here is you got a blur. Now depending upon how much blur you put on this, it's either a sharp, kind of a sharp edge, or it becomes a softer edge. So let's make that 9 and see what that looks like. There, you see what I'm saying? It's just way too much. So again, I'm going to come back in here, and I believe I had it set to 1. I'll make it 1 again, and let's see what we get. Come on, you. 0. 0. What's it? Was it 0? Was it 1? 0, 0, 1. I wonder if that's it. What was it? Blur. Okay, let me bring it down. There we go. 0. Actually, what I want is I want it to be 1. Let me see, make it 1. See if that does it. 1 inch. Oh, I see what I did wrong. No, nope, that's no good. Make it back to 0. Yeah, bring it back to, let's bring it back to 1 or 2. See if I can make it 2. 3 maybe. Oh boy, 3. Try 3. Let's see if that does it. Y offset. And 3, 0, 3 probably. that's probably what it is, 03. And then, of course, this here has got to also be, yeah, that's going to be 0.03, and that should fix it. There we go. That's about what it is. And I think, actually, I think 3 is too much. I'm going to bring it back down to like 2 and see if that makes it a little bit better. I like that. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Hit OK. Now, look. There we have it. Okay, so what you have basically, you've got a nice little drop shadow around the logo, around the text, and around this shape right here. Okay, so this thing is beginning to look really good. The one thing I might do with this is I might actually move that text down just a tiny bit. Let me come in here and let me move it down like 1. That's better. Okay, all right, so now this is basically ready to go. So once again, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go File, Save As. And I am going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go into my week 3, night 1. Nope. Hold on. Where are we? Week 3 PDFs. There we go. And I'm going to change this to a PDF. Okay, there's my Home Depot logo. This is DES240 Project 2 Welcome Screen. And I'm going to hit Save and hit Save. And I now have 2 parts of my submission complete. Okay? Now what's left is I have to do my individual panels and I have to do my navigational panels. The rest of the night is going to be me working on the main navigational panel so that you can see how I put all those elements together. And after I get it together, I'm going to use that same basic navigational panel for my directional panels, and you'll see how I do that. Okay, so I think I'm done with this. I'm going to close it, and I think I'm done with this. So I'm going to close it. This is my main navigational panel. So what I want to do here is I want to go to my layers panel, and I want to hide my samples. There's my samples. And what's with this thing? What's that? What's that thing right there? That is what? Let me see if that's what I think it is. Yeah, it's an artboard. Hit delete. There we go. Ooh, look at that. That's another one. What's going on with this thing? How are these artboards there? Let's delete that. 3 artboards. What's going on here? Oh, come on. There we go. Delete it. Come on. Oh my God, what's the deal? I wonder if that, let me see, is this an artboard? No, that isn't an artboard. Let me see that. I guess this thing has to be, all right, let me see here. Okay, so I got to make this thing, I see what's going on. This has got to be turned into an artboard. Here we go. Okay, now I understand what's going on. All right, I'm going to stretch the artboard out to fit this white area. There's some weirdness going on here. Let me fix this. This came this way. I didn't have anything to do with it, really. All right, so now I have my artboard straightened out. There it is, the artboard straightened out. And all this stuff is on the artboard. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to start doing is I want to start putting elements onto this. So I guess the first thing I would do is maybe bring in, and let's go to my layers panel. Let's see where I am on my layers panel. So, okay, so my samples, I'm going to lock that. The background, I'm going to lock it. And the guides, I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to leave them showing. I'm going to make sure I'm on the redo layer. Okay, I actually set up 4 layers. This layer here is the sample, which shows the artwork that I've created and what I'm about to recreate. And then I'm going to do it on the redo layer. Okay, so let's get going with this. Oh, and I put some guides out here to kind of help me get going. All right, so I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go into my desktop, to my Information Design, Week 3, and I'm looking for my imagery, and I'm looking for my Home Depot logo first, and I'm going to hit Place. And actually what I think I'm going to do this time is I'm going to click, hold, and drag this out until it comes down like that. There is my logo, my center logo, okay? So there's my first logo. The next thing I want to do is I want to put in my my department logos, okay? So again, go to File, Place. And I have all of these things. I've created all of these things just so that you understand, because I don't want to confuse you. What I did was I created all of my my logos, my symbols, my icons, and I exported each one of them as a PNG file. I did all that in advance. And the reason I did it all in advance is so now I could go in and I could just start building by placing the elements on the page, okay? So just keep in mind, that's what's going on here. So now it all comes up to me and where I want to put this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the one that's up in the upper left-hand corner, which is the one I'm about to work on, that's the paint one. So I'm going to click on the paint and I'm going to hit place, and then I'm going to come over here and you see I got my loaded icon and I have my guides, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to place my cursor right on the intersection of that guide, and I'm going to just drag this thing out until it does that. And there is my my painting. All right, there's my painting symbol. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here, and this one, let's go back to my original. So electrical, lumber, tools, and lawn and garden. Okay, so this one here gets the electrical one. Let's go to the redo layer. And let's go File, Place. And this one is going to be the electrical one. Where is the electrical one? Right there. Hit Place. Once again, with my loaded cursor, I'll go to my guides. And these guides are very helpful. You know, it's sort of setting up a grid for you to work with. And I'm going to hold this thing, and I'm just going to drag this thing until it reaches the guides, just like that. And there is my second element, my second logo. Now, over here, this one is the woodworking, okay, or the lumber. So I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get the lumber one and hit Place. And then I'm going to carefully click and I'm going to drag this thing out until I get that right there. And there is my lumber, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing over here for my lawn and garden and for my tools. So here's how I'm going to do this. Since I have my guides here and I don't really have my guides here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find my tools and I'm going to hit Place, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm just going to drag this shape out until it's the same, relatively the same size as the one above it, just like that, okay? And I think it actually should be a tiny bit bigger. Let's make it just a tiny bit bigger. Up. Control. I didn't grab it right. Let me grab this thing. Hold down the Shift key. Make it just a touch bigger. It's too big. That's probably going to do it. That's good. That's good. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this thing down, and I'm going to put it in the lower right corner because that's where it goes in this particular one. Okay. So now the last one I have to put in here is my lawn and garden. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to find my lawn and garden, which is right there. And I hit Place. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to click here, drag, and bring my lawn and garden out until it's around the same size as the logo or the symbol that's above it, which is about like, this is tricky right there. That's probably pretty good. Probably could be a little bit bigger again. I just underdid it a bit. Let me hold down the Shift key again and make it just a touch bigger. That's probably good right there. And then this one is going to be situated, I believe, in a similar position over here. Let's check it out and see. All right, so that's basically it. Let's go to my layers panel and let's go to my sample. And you can see I'm actually pretty darn close on all of them, okay? Close enough for our purposes, I'm sure. Okay, so there we have it. Now, I'm going to hide this thing here. Let me actually see. This layer, I think this has got to come over a little bit. And this one here, it looks like it comes down a little bit and over. No, that's probably good right there. That one looks like it's in good position. That one looks in good position. That one looks in good position. That looks in good position. All right, so let me take a look and see what this thing looks like. That's what it looks like. File, save. There we go. Now, again, you know, I've done this before, so what I'm doing essentially is I'm just kind of like going along and using a little bit of my memory, and I'm referring back to my model to kind of make this look the same. When you do this, you're kind of going to work from scratch on this. You're not going to be doing this the same way as I did it, okay? So you're going to have to work from scratch. So now I got the painting, I have the electrical, I have the lumber, I have the yard and garden, and the tools. So let's go in and let's start placing pictures. So I'm going to go place, and I'm going to come in here, and let's see what we got. Soft white room scene. There's my prep paint interior. Click on that and hit place. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click this guy, and I'm going to drag this thing out until it is, oh, I don't know, maybe about like that. And I probably need it to go a little bit bigger. Need it to go a little bit bigger, maybe down to about there. That's probably pretty good. There's my prep paint, perfect. There's my first one. And the next one is the lumber. So I'm going to go file, place. And I'm just putting these in right now. I can adjust them later. There's my framing lumber. Hit place. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag this thing out until it comes over to about like that. And there you have that. And this guy here, I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, because I want that to be in the front of everything. So there's my pictures. I still got a couple more to go over here. So this was going to be electrical. And I just want you to, I'm going to stop for a minute, and I got to tell you, these pictures came from the Home Depot website. I went into the Home Depot website. I went into each department. I went into the painting department, and I found a picture in the painting department that I thought I could use. I went into the electrical and found a picture that I thought I could use. I went into the lumber, I did the same thing. I went into my tools, did the same thing. I went into the lawn and garden, did the same thing. That's all you need to do, is to go in, take a look at the pictures, and find a picture that you can use, and you should be good to go. That's the whole thing. All right. So file, place, and this one is going to be electrical. So which would be the electrical? I think it's this one right there. And hit place, there we go. Come over here, and I'm going to click that and drag this thing out until it's like about like that. There we go. And actually, I think I did a clipping mask on this. So what I did was I made this a little bit bigger, because I don't like that soft white light bulb thing at the bottom there. So I make this just a tiny bit bigger like that. All right, Control Z. Hold on, I got to do that with holding the shift down. Like that's probably good. Okay, now I wanted to get rid of that soft white light bulb deal. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a rectangular shape in front of this, like that. And then I'm going to click on that picture and that rectangular shape. And I'm going to make a clipping mask. The clipping mask is going to clip the image, and whatever's outside the shape, which is the clipping mask, which is that little rectangular shape I drew over top of it, will be hidden. So now that I have both of them selected, I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make, and it clips that away. That's what I did, and that's how I did that. Now, the only reason I did that was because instead of clipping it in Photoshop, which I could have also done, I just wanted to show you how you can make a clipping mask. So can you guys begin to see how quickly and easy it is to start throwing together a page like this? There's still a good bit to do to this, but I think you can see that if you prepare yourself a little in advance. First of all, what I did was I cleaned up my logo so I could use my logo. I created my symbols, and I figured that, you know, I have a limited amount of space here, so I'm going to use these symbols and try to situate them in a space and utilize them in a space visually so that it works good. And then I went and I found pictures that would fill the space properly. Okay, I got to add some text to this. I got to add one more buttony looking bit of type, and then I have to add the kiosk. And what's the other thing it says? Let me come back to my layers panel. I have to add the kiosk in and the checkout. Okay, because those are part of the elements too. All right. So I still, as I said, I still got a bit of work to do here, but let me keep going. All right. So the tools. So let's go File, Place. And let's place the tools in. The tools are where? Where are the tools? Right there. And hit place. Okay, and the tools, I'm going to come over here, click, and I'm going to drag the tools out just like that. There's my tools. Okay? And you can see it is coming together. My lawn and garden, let's take a look at the lawn and garden. Yeah, see? So it's actually working pretty good. There's your lawn and garden. So what I'm going to do is, again, hide the layer and go in and go File, Place. And I'm going to find my lawn and garden right there. Again, all these pictures came right from their website, Place. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this thing out until it fits across the bottom, just like that. There we have it. And now we have all of our pictures in place. And they're all on the redo layer because that's where I want them to go right now. Okay? And then, of course, you know, you can move them around a little tiny bit to get them looking the way you want them to look. This one probably right there is good. This one looks like it's okay. This one maybe, they look okay. I think we're okay, basically, with them the way they are. All right, so there's that. Now, there's two things left. Each one of these guys gets find your perfect paint for your home project, huge inventory of top choices for any project, up to 20% off all electrical components, and then the others get something different. All right, so I have to create these three things. So let's do one of them first, all right? So the key to this is that we gotta, you know, come in here. Let me go to my layer, see if it's locked. All right, so this is basically the size font that I'm using here is I'm using 20th century condensed extra bold, and it is in 11 point. Let's go back in here and find the perfect paint for your home project. Let's hide this layer. Okay, go to redo layer, and let's click find perfect paint for your home project. There is the first line right there. Okay, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is set to this Myriad Pro. It's not what I want. What I'm looking for, actually, 20th century condensed extra bold. That's what I want. And I wanted it to be, I think I wanted it to be 11%. Oh, 11%. No, 12% is probably good. And I think I have this thing set to 10. Yeah, that's probably good right there. So there is my first line of text. Now what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to add a frame behind it, something like this, okay? And that's going to, again, be orange. So I click on the orange to make it orange, and I'm going to cut it, edit, cut, and then I'm going to click on this and go edit, paste in back. And now I have my two pieces together. And I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to click on the two of them, and I'm going to align them. This time I'm going to change the alignment criteria from align to artboard to align to selection, and I'm going to center align the two of them together, and they are center aligned. So there's find the perfect paint for your home project. There's that one. I'm going to make sure it's selected. I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and I'm going to right arrow it over, because see, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same one for all three of them. I'm just going to move it over, and I'm going to change the type, what the type is saying, and adjust the size. So go edit, paste in place again, and I'm going to bring it down to the one down here. See, now I got all three of these done, and I got them all done pretty quick. That's the whole point. They're all very quickly done. So now all I need to do is to come in here and change what they say. All right, so this one here says, go back in and let's show it. It says, I mean, I can't see it because, of course, it's in the way. So what I'm going to do is, hold on a minute. Let me do this. Let me get this thing and move it up. Up, Control Z. Oh, man. I thought I had it grouped. What happened here? Okay, move it up. There we go. Okay, so it's going to say up to 20% off all electrical components. So I'm going to select this thing, all right? Select it all, and then up to 20% off. Whoops. Oh, OFF, all electrical components, COMPONENTS. And of course, I think I want to just add the off, on. ON, there we go. Okay, so that actually works out pretty good. All right, and now I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to hide this, and then I'm going to select both of these guys, and I'm going to move that down to about where I want it, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of here. Okay, so you see what I'm basically doing is I'm just coming in here, and I'm building my individual panels. I have copy that's going to go in here. I'm probably going to have to adjust things a little bit to get everything the way I want it, but I'm taking it one step at a time. All right. All right. So the next one reads, let me click on this and let me move this up so I can see it. All right. All right. So this is going to read, okay, huge, HUGEINVENTORY, inventory of top choices. ICES, choices for any project. Okay, for any project. And that is actually a little bit bigger than I want it to be. So what I think I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to go to the type panel, and I'm going to actually bring this down to like 0. Okay, and even that, it isn't quite small enough yet. So the other thing that I can do with this is I can select that bar, and I can actually make that bar a tiny bit longer, and I doubt very much anybody is going to know the difference. There we go. And then I'm going to select the bar. I'm going to select the text. I'm going to center align the two of them. That's perfect. I'm going to go Object Group, and then I'm going to come to my layers to hide that layer so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to move that thing down to right about there for now. Okay, and I'll, again, adjust all this stuff as I go along. But this is where we are so far. Let me go to the View menu, and let me go to Guides and hide the guides so we can see what's going on. Okay, so you can kind of see how this project is beginning to shape up. And again, I'm doing this thing quickly because I haven't got a lot of time to do it. I'm trying to do this quickly. I'm trying to do it right at the same time. I'm not worrying that it looks exactly the same as the other. Now, here's the other thing. I have copy for this. So actually, this is the copy. Let's see. This is the copy that I want to use. Let me see which is which here. Free delivery on paint samples. Find the perfect paint for your home. Okay, for your home project. There we go. Okay, so free delivery on paint samples. Here we go. So I'm going to select this guy because that's the first one. And I'm going to go copy. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and I'm going to go Control V and I'm going to paste it. Okay, so free delivery on paint samples and hit Shift Enter. And there is my first blob of copy. I'm going to bring it down slightly. There's my first blob of copy. And in my case here, this copy turns out to be 12-point 20th century MT condensed extra bold. So the thing that you need to understand here is that I'm kind of using the same size font for all the copy in here, or at least as much of it as I possibly can. The major difference between the two is that free delivery on paint samples, they're all caps, whereas this is upper and lower case. So they look a little bit different, and that helps the illusion of the thing working and giving me a good look. Okay, so the next one here is electrical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click to place my cursor again, and maybe I'm going to go to my home copy, and let's see where the electrical is. Okay, we've got what's next in all electrical filters. This is it. This one's going to be tricky. Copy it. This is going to be tricky. And let's go Control V. We've got what's next. Let me see. Shit. Enter. There we go. What's next on all electrical? On all, let's see, in, back, in, all. Enter. There we go. All electrical. fixtures. Yeah, see, and again, this is really, let me see how I did it. Let's go back here. All right, let me hide that layer, see what I did. We got what's next in all electrical fixtures. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We got what's, that's what it is. Let's go back here and let's go back. There we go. What's next in, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Okay, and then this is all, I think that goes up on that line. In all electrical fixtures. Okay, so we're close. And then this guy here is going to move out like that and down a little bit. And I think what I did with this is, I think I actually went here and I think I actually negative tracked this thing down to about 25. Let's see, maybe 10. Yeah, that's probably it. And it's still giving me trouble. So what I probably need to do with this is I probably need to bring this down to 11 point. 10 point, maybe 10 point, and let's open her back up. 0. That's probably pretty good. Let's see if that's all right. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller than the other, but I think it's basically okay. The other thing is, maybe what I could do is this. Hold on a second. This is probably what I did now that I think about it. So this is going to go back up. This is going to go back up to 12. Hold on, give me a second. All right, so bring this back up to 12. 10, 11, 12. Okay. What I think I did actually was this. I think I actually came in here and I think I actually made my clipping mask a little bit smaller. I think that's probably what I did. Direct selection tool. Let me see. Clipping mask. Let's see if I do this carefully. I think I made the clipping mask a little bit smaller. There, let's try it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So you see what I just did is I made the clipping mask a little bit smaller. So I'm hiding more of the picture so that I could get this to fit properly. Okay? And how I did that was when you made the clipping mask, there's a picture and there's a frame in front of it. And using the direct selection tool, I can go in and I can select that frame. And since that frame is acting as a clipping mask, if I select just the 2 anchor points on the left-hand side and use my right arrow, I can move that clipping mask in, making it slightly smaller so that your picture shows less. And now I've got the space that I need for my text. There we go. Okay. And yeah, so let's go view, fit artboard and window, and let's see where we are. So there's always ways that you could do this kind of stuff. You just got to think your way through the process. I'm going to bring that down and bring it over maybe a little bit. And actually, I think what I'm going to try to do with this is, let's see if I can maybe come over here and what's this thing? It's over 14. That's better. I just changed it to 14 instead of 14.5. Make it just 14. There we go. Better. Okay. Now, so that's 2 of them. The lumber one, let's see what we're going to do with the lumber one. Click on that. All right. And let's move it into position. Right over here. Okay, and let's find the lumber. I copied this. Now, again, I don't know whether I explained this to you very well or not, but where I got this copy was from the website. I went into the website and I found this copy right here. So I copied it and I pasted it into Microsoft Word. I decided what I wanted to be all caps, and I decided what I wanted to be upper and lower case. And so I have it saved, and all I have to do now is select it and copy it, right? And paste it over top of the font that I have here, Control V. And there we have it. Now, again, I got a similar situation. Now, there's a couple of things that I could do here. I could move this over this way, but probably the best thing to do is the same thing I did with the other, and that is to create a clipping mask. So if I come over here, I got to be right about there. So if I come over here and if I make my clipping mask like this, look at what I'm doing. I'm going to show you this in a second so that you could see what I'm doing. There's my clipping mask. Look, I'm going to make it a stroke. Oh, crap. I want that. There we go. I don't want that. There. Okay. So let me just deselect this and you'll see what's going on here. This is my clipping mask. Okay. And actually the clipping mask is a little bit bigger than it needs to be here. So let me get it selected and let me make it a little tiny bit smaller. There we go. And I'm going to make it just a touch smaller because I think I went too far down with it. That's probably good right there. Right there is good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so again, what does a clipping mask do? A clipping mask takes something that's underneath of it, which in this case is that photograph, and it clips it to the shape that I just created. So I just created a rectangular shape and put it in front of the picture. Now, the reason I did that is because I needed space out here, okay? And I needed to get rid of some of that picture. So by clicking on the picture and holding the shift key down and clicking on that rectangular shape, I can go to the object menu. I can go to clipping mask, make, and see what it does? It clips that photo. And now go object, arrange, bring to front. And now that photo has been clipped enough that I can get my type in there and I no longer have a problem. So again, you know, as you go along and you build this thing, there are options that you have in here that will help you to go ahead and make everything fit the way that you want everything to fit. This guy here, maybe what I would do with this is I might move this thing up a little bit, you know, like that's probably pretty good. You want them to look as much as like each other as you possibly can. Do they have to look all exactly the same? No, they really don't. They should just look very similar to one another. People who are going to look at this shouldn't be noticing major differences, okay? So you want it to be similar. All right, so I have two areas that I still have to deal with, and that is my tools and my lawn and garden. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to place my cursor like that, and I'm going to put my type in there. And maybe what I'll do is I'll move it down a little bit so I can get it where I want. I'll reselect this thing. And let's go back up to my copy. And I'm looking for tools. So where's my tools? All the plants. We got the next in an electrical figure. Build it better with the right lumber. There we go. All 25% off on all tools with special buys. I believe that's what it is. There we go. And hit copy. And let's come in here and let's select this guy and Control V. There we go. All right, so 25% off. Let's click on Shift Enter on Tools and bring it back up. Tools with Enter. There we go. With special buys, and then that's going to be on its own line. Shift Enter. There we go. Okay, and that sort of fits. Again, I have to move it over a little tiny bit. Move this over this way just slightly, like that. Maybe move it up a little bit, like that. That's probably pretty good. All right, and now there's a secondary line. Let's go back to the copy. Valid through, and let's click on this. Click on this guy and copy it. And then I'm going to once again come over here, place my text, and Control V, and I got that. And this is going to be very tiny. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to select this whole thing, and I'm going to make it very small. So it's 12 point. I'm going to bring it down to like 8 point. Okay, 8 point, and I'm going to go not 14, but like maybe 8 or 9. That's probably pretty good right there. And let me move this up, and you can see it's a very small bit of text that goes in there, and it's actually pretty tight. So let's see what the leading is on this. We might have to do a little bit of tweaking with this. So this is 14 point. I'm stuck with that. Yeah, so I'm going to probably have to clip this picture as well to give myself a little more space. So once again, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create a clipping mask again by just creating a rectangular shape. Watch what I do. There's my stroke of black, so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to come over here and very carefully, I'm going to create a rectangular shape just like that, and I'm going to clip the bottom. So now that I got that rectangular shape, hold the Shift key down. The photo and the shape are both selected. So when I go Object, Clipping Mask, Make, there it is. It's now been clipped. I can take this thing, I can move this up, and I have the space that I need to put that copy in here like this. And what I need to do with this, whoops, I gotta bring this up. And this thing here, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to set this thing to be, 8/8. There we go. And this is going to be 14, 12/13. Let's make it 13. Nope. There we go, 12/13. Oh, and I'm going to negative track this thing. I'm going to bring it in 10 like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select this whole thing. And I'm going to negative track that into about 25. Let's make it, let's go up a little bit more, 30. That's probably good right there. Again, that's very small type. I don't worry about that too much, but it should be there. There we go. And that actually is working. View, fit, artboard, and window. So really what you got to do with this is you got to play around with it. It actually doesn't look half bad. There we go. And this could probably come down just a tiny bit. And that really doesn't look all that bad. Remember now, this is just going to be part of a kiosk, so it's going to be something that you're going to read on screen. We're using sans serif fonts on this, so the sans serif font is going to make it easier for you to be able to read this thing, okay? So really what I'm doing here, I mean, I think you can see it's very readable. It's still very readable, okay? All right, so let's take a look at where we are. Let's go back to our layers. And here's our original layer. That's our original layer. And you could see I got basically the same thing going on here. Shop tool savings. I think I actually added a line. The other one I didn't use that line, but I did on this. And I'm going to leave it because it's fine. But basically you can see all this is working pretty well. And there is some variation to these things, but nothing that's outright noticeable to the point where it's going to kill you. Okay, so the last thing we got to do is we got to put in the final, which is the all the plants, tools, and support you need. I have to build the checkout and the kiosk, and this one will be done. Okay, so really this is just the kind of thing that you got to just go in and you got to pick it off, and you got to do bit by bit by bit until you get the whole thing done. You got to tweak it, you got to move it around, you got to get it until you reach what you like, how you like it. Like I'm noticing right away here that this is sitting not right. So I'm going to move it down. Okay, that one looks like it's okay. I think I can live with this one. Maybe move it down a bit. Nope, that's probably pretty good. Yeah, so really we're okay. All the plants and tools and support that you need. All right, so that's the last one I got to do right there. So let's come back in, and on that layer, I'm going to come in and I'm going to place my text again, just about like that. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that the size is this. All right, it's going to be 12/14, and this is not anymore. So we got to change this back to 12/14. 12/14. Right there. Okay, and now I'm going to come in here, and this is my lawn and garden. So let's go to home copy, and let's find lawn and garden. Where I think it's the bottom one. Yeah, all the plants, tools, and support. Now, I think it goes all the plants, tools, and support. Let's see, I think all plants, tools. How did that, let me just see here. I forget exactly how that was done. I have two lines here. All the plant, tools, and, okay, that's it. Now I know how to do it. Right there, click on that, hide that. I got it now. Okay, so copy, let's go. All the plants, tools, and, there we go. Click on that, copy it, and I'm going to place that. Replace it. All right. Okay. Control V. All the plants, comma, tools, and all the plants. I guess it's that way. Plants, yeah, tools. There we go. That's what it is. Okay, all the plants, tools, and this comes down to about there. All the plants, tools, and then I'm going to grab the second line because I'm wrapping it around here and move this down. Oh, boy. There we go. Move it down. And again, this is 12/14, I hope. 12/14. Yes, it is. Okay. And, oh, yeah, you know what? I just noticed. There's your problem. This has got to be changed, too. I accidentally forgot to change this tracking. I'm going to bring this tracking back to 0. There we go. And this thing here, I got to bring the tracking back to 0 as well, and that'll be much better. come on, 0. There we go. All right. And that is going to be support you need. Copy. All right. Okay. And then paste. There you go. Okay. And then I'm going to move that down a little bit. Bring it down just a bit like that. There. So you got all the plants, tools, and it's going to come over a little bit, just about like that, and support that you need. Great. Wonderful. Now, I'm going to put in one more little line of copy here. And what I'm going to do is this. To make this easy, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go Edit Copy, Edit Paste in Place, and I'm just going to bring this up and bring this over here. Okay, and I'm going to place it down and maybe bring it over like that. There we go. And I'm going to select it all. All right, let's get the whole thing. Come on, darn it. Oh, geez. Okay, I'll fix it. And then this is going to be more savings, more doing. Copy. And edit, paste. There we go. More, and I have the V. I missed the V. I got to get rid of that. So let's get rid of that V. There we go. More savings, more doing. And then I'm just going to move that over until it is like about there. Okay, cool. And that more or less does it. There's more or less the elements that we need. Okay, so there are your main panel areas. Again, I could tweak this a little bit more, but I think you get the general idea. That leaves me with two things that I want to create, and that is my kiosk. Let's go back. I'm going to create my kiosk graphic and my checkout graphic. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on my guide layer, I'm going to unlock my guide layer, and I'm going to drag out a couple of guides to make this easy. I'll get this thing done rather easy. So I'm going to drag this thing out like that, and let's go to the guides, go guides, view guides, show guides. There we go. Okay, let me go view guides, clear guides. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just going to see if I can maybe move these guides around. Are they unlock object view guides? Okay, hold on. Where would these guides be? Yeah, they're on that layer, aren't they? I'll be darned. Okay, so let me unlock that layer and let me see if I can get these guides out of here. There we go. All right, good. So now what I wanted to do, let's get these guides out of here too. I don't need them anymore. What I want to do is show this, and I want to drag out a few more guides. Let's go on the guides layer to do that. I'm going to drag out a guide for that, like that. I'm going to drag out a guide for that, right there, like that. I'm going to drag out a little guide for my kiosk, right? Oops, I missed it. There we go. Guide for my kiosk and guide for my kiosk. That's it right there. Perfect. And then I'm going to drag a guide out like this because I want my kiosk and my checkout area to be about the same size. And another guide like this. There we go. Okay. Perfect. All right, so checkout. Oh, a second. Out. And kiosk. All right, here we go. So I'm going to hide this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drag myself out a rectangular shape just like that. And then I'm going to fill it with my orange color, just like that. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create my little kiosk shape right there. So there's my little kiosk shape right there. Now, what I did with this is kind of interesting. I'm going to zoom in on it, and what I did was, instead of leaving this as a regular rectangle, if I come in here with the direct selection tool, the direct selection tool gives me the ability to round corners. So I'm going to do this, okay, and that'll round all those corners. I'm going to go edit, undo corners. But if I click on just one corner, okay, I can round just one corner. See that? I can round one corner. And if I come over and click on the other opposite corner, you'll see I can round just that one corner. So I end up with something that looks pretty cool like that. it's a different shape. It's a little bit unusual, and that's what I'm looking for. And I did that by using the direct selection tool and clicking just on the one corner to select it. And when you do that, you'll see what you get is that one little circle, not all the way around, and you can drag that one little circle in to create that rounded corner. Okay? So that's how I did that. So what I want to do now is I want to type in the word kiosk. All right, now, kiosk is going to be in the font type. Okay, now I'm not sure whether I'm going to have this font type at the top or not. Yes, stencil bold. Here we go, stencil bold. So there it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to read K-I-O-S-K, kiosk. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it, because one of the things that they do in Home Depot is they rotate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this thing, and I'm going to try to get a rotation that will work within the context of this kiosk shape. So let's go view, zoom out, and there we go. And I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to scale it, I'm going to make it bigger, holding down the Shift key and the Alt key. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to rotate it until I get it to do what I want it to do. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to Shift key down. I want to make it kind of break out on either side. So I got to keep tweaking this and fooling with it until I get it just where I want it to be. And I'm just going to keep tweaking it. See? And what's happening is it's breaking out there just perfectly, but it isn't quite there yet on this side. So I'm just going to keep tweaking it and playing. There we go. I got it. Look. Okay? There it is. Now, what I'm going to do here is, since this is going to be, actually, this is going to be on a gray background. So what I need to do is I need to make this thing, I need to break this all apart in order to make this work. So I'm going to first start off by taking the word kiosk, and I'm going to go to the type menu, and I'm going to create outlines. So now I got these graphic shapes. And if I go to the view menu, or better yet, let me go to my layers menu and hide my guides. Okay, whoops, that's on the guide layer, isn't it? I don't want that on the guide layer. So let me click on that. Let me click on that in the kiosk, and let me move that down to the redo layer. And then I can hide the guide layer. Boom, there we go. So watch this. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see what's going on. Now look, this is important. Little bits of the ends of the K and the K are outside the shape of the kiosk. That's very much like what the logo does. So I'm trying to match the logo. So I'm going to select both of these things, and I'm going to come down here to my Pathfinder, and I'm going to divide it up. Okay, so I've divided this up. Now what I can do is, with my group selection tool, I can come over here, group selection tool, and I can click on that one little bit on the outside, and I can delete it. See what it did? It's really cool. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to delete that. Okay? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to delete that. Look at this. This is so cool. And I'm going to delete that. Whoop, I hit the wrong piece. There we go. Delete that. Now, if I come in here and click and click and click, click, I'm shift clicking to select all these little parts. Shift clicking, and if I come up here, I can choose white, and if you take a look at this, go to the view menu, hit artboard and window, you can see that I've come up with something for my kiosk that perfectly matches my Home Depot. Listen, this is the whole thing that I'm trying to get you guys to understand. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to build a look that matches Home Depot. Now, I'm also seeing that this probably belongs over a little tiny bit. Probably should go in that direction a little bit. That's perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to build a look that matches the Home Depot. Everything that I'm doing should, could coordinate with whatever is being done in Home Depot. So I got one last thing to do, and that's the checkout right here. And then this panel is essentially done. I can throw a couple of, let's go back in here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I could come in here and I could throw in a couple of drop shadows, which I will do when I'm really done. But I've got one more thing to do, and that's the checkout. So once again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click, and I'm going to type in C-H-E-C-K and then O-U-T, checkout. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make it white, because we're going white, okay? And then I'm going to put it into position here, like that. And I'm going to grab my free transform tool, and I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to make this thing big until it does this, right, like that. And then I'm just going to move it up into position like that. And there is my checkout. And if I wanted to, I could actually stretch this thing just a tiny bit more. Hold down the shift and the alt key, and I can stretch it just a tiny bit more until it actually breaks out. And I think I probably went a little too far with it, but I can adjust that. Let me do this. Let me change it to black. There we go. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see it. All right, so I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to change the size of this thing down to like 98, and hit OK. And move it over like that. Okay, so it's got to go, it's got to be 100 and, let's go 100 and 100.5 and hit OK. And that's probably good. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're in business. Perfect. Again, why am I doing this? I know it seems like it's crazy, but what I want to do is I want to break that copy out of that background. Before I do this, I think what I want to do is I want to get this graphic, that rectangle. All right, let me go Object, Lock, Selection. I think what I want to do is I want to make this shape a little bit bigger. So if I'm going to hold this thing down, and I'm going to Shift and Alt this thing, and I'm just going to make it a little bit taller. Perfect. That'll do it. Now, I'm going to go Object, Unlock All. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that type, Create Outlines, and I'm going to remove the stroke from it because I don't want the stroke on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that and the shape. Whoops, Control Z. Select the type, select the shape, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to, geez, that wasn't the right one. I'm going to divide it. Okay, so I divided it. Now, hopefully, I should be able to come in here, and I should be able to, with my group selection tool, I should be able to select that. Yes, I can, and I can delete that. And then I could come over to the other side, and there should be a tiny bit of that white. There it is. Delete it. Okay, there. Now let's go View, Fit Artboard in Window. Or I'm sorry, go View, Fit All in Window. There we go. All right. Now if I take a look, this is my kiosk. This is the finished piece. This is actually the finished piece. It's all done. And the only thing that I think I did with this that I didn't do yet is, let me see. Yeah, I didn't put in some drop shadows. So I have some drop shadows on some of these elements. So let's go in and let's do some drop shadow work on it. And then this thing will be basically done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this thing out as a, I'm going to export it out as a PDF. And then I'm going to show you how I went about creating the, I'm going to show you how I went about creating the panels that show how to get from the kiosk into the different departments. So I'm going to start off with this. I'm going to go to Effect, and I'm going to go to Stylize Drop Shadow, and I'm going to hit Preview, and there's my drop shadow, and I hit OK, and I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. There we go. Now the photo, I'm going to select all the photos, because all the photos get drop shadows. And then I'm going to go Effect, Apply Drop Shadow to them. There we go. And my little graphic panels, actually, what I got to do is I got to be very careful with this. I want that, and I'm going to Effect and Apply Drop Shadow. And then I'm going to grab that shape and Effect, Apply Drop Shadow. Okay? And then this one here, and I'm going to Did I get it? No, I got the type, didn't I? Actually, I think that one's grouped. Yeah, for some reason that's grouped. Effect, apply, drop, shadow. Yep, that worked out perfect. That's what I wanted. And that's it, I think. That is it. There you go. Okay. So let me just see. Did I put it on the kiosk as well? I don't know whether I don't remember. I did, didn't I? Yep. So let's do that. Let's go back in. Let's get the little kiosk and let's go effect, apply, drop, shadow. There we go. And let's go to my checkout and let's go effect, apply, drop, shadow. And there we go. So again, I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. Let me hide the layer so that you can see what the final piece looks like. There is your final piece. That is my piece that I am going to be submitting for my main panel. And what is left for me to do is to show you how I handled creating my little paths. And then I'm going to export all of them, and I'm going to put all the PDFs together and show you how to make one PDF, and I'll be done for tonight, and you guys can actually try to do this yourself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Save As, right there, and I'm going to change it to PDF, and this is going to be main navigation, Navigation, Navig. Okay, so main navigation. There's the checkout. No, it's going to be on desktop. That's right, desktop. It's going to be in week 3 PDFs. So look what I got so far. I got the welcome screen in there. I got the Home Depot logos, and now it's going to be DES 240 Project 2 main navigation. Hit save. And there you have it. Hit Save PDF. All right, now, what I need to do is I need to put together my navigational elements. So to do that, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my Layers panel, and I'm going to create a few more layers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. So right by Redo, I'm going to click 5 times, actually 6 times. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to click on the Home Depot, and I'm going to move this up to that layer, and I'm going to name that layer Logo. Okay, because I'm going to hide this on the next, I'm going to hide that layer on my next 5 pieces, which are going to be done right here. So what I'm going to do is the background is going to be locked, my redo is going to be locked, and my logo is going to be locked, and my guides are going to be locked. What I'm dealing with are my 5 layers right here. My first layer is going to be tools, okay? My next layer is going to be lumber, okay? My next layer is going to be garden, G-A-R-D-E-N, garden. And then this guy here is going to be electric. And then the last one will be paint. Okay, so paint. So what is going to happen now? So I'm going to create a line, and the line is going to have arrow ends to it, and it's going to point into each one. It's going to point you from your kiosk to each individual area or each individual, what do they call these things, department. All right, and I'm going to make 5 of these guys pointing to each individual department. And each time I make one, I'm going to export it as project, and I'm going to call one, each one of them is going to be navigate, and it's going to be tools. Navigate yard, navigate lumber, navigate electrical, navigate painting. And I'm going to end up with 5 of these, and each one are going to have their own unique line taking you to that department. Once you do that, you'll have all the panels that you're going to need to make this project. So let's start with the tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I am going to get my pen tool. I like doing this with the pen tool. So I'm going to come over here next to the kiosk, and I'm going to click close to the kiosk. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to move over to, I don't know, maybe like about the middle, click. And then I'm going to move up to somewhere, I don't know, like maybe right about here, and I'm going to click again. I'm holding the shift key down the whole time. And then I'm going to come over here, holding the shift key down and click again. Now I'm going to remove the fill and I'm going to put a stroke of black on it. And now what I want to do is I've got to get rid of that fill. There we go. Okay, so now I have my line, and I think my line is too small. So what I'm going to do is go to the View menu, and I'm going to go to, what do we want here? Stroke. Where are we at here? Come on. Image trace, where are you at? Stroke, PQ, stroke, there it is. I don't know why I couldn't see that. Okay, so now I have my stroke. It's 1 point stroke of black. I'm gonna make it 2. That's probably good. See how I got a nice little line of 2 right there? Okay, now, the only other thing that you're gonna do here is you got this thing here called arrowheads. Now, if you don't see this, you can come up here and you can show your options. Okay, sometimes when this opens up, it may open up just like this. And if that's the case, you come here and you show your options. But what you want to do is you want to get your arrowheads here. Now, I think this is what I need to do. I select my arrowhead. Now, what I want to use is I want to use that dot right there. Okay, and you can see that that dot comes up. And I think that that dot is probably too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of it. The scale of it is going to be, let's make it, oh, I don't know, like, what is it, 48%? That's probably good, 48%. Now, the other one over here is going to be my arrowhead right there. There's my arrow. My arrow is too big, so what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm going to bring this thing down to about 48%. There we go. Okay, now check it out. That's really all it takes to make that little arrow. I mean, couldn't be easier. It really is not hard. And that arrow is going to be every other arrow that I'm going to use except for this one over here. Every one of these arrows is just going to be modified to be used in all of the others. Now watch what I'm talking about when I say this. Let's go back to our layers panel. This one is on the tools layer. See it? So that is my tools arrow. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that I got my tools arrow, and I think I have my arrow where I want it, although maybe what I'll do is this. Maybe what I'll do is I'll get my direct selection tool, and maybe I'll just click the end of this one little line segment, and maybe I'll move this thing over slightly so that it's touching. That I think is a good look. There we go. It's touching. And actually, I think I kind of like the idea of doing the same thing with that. Maybe this is in a little too close. Let me move that in just a, that's much better. Okay, so now I got my little arrowhead doing what I wanted to do, and I got it set on my tools layer. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go File, Save As, because this is actually the way one of my panels is going to look. So this is going to be, call this NAV dash tools. Okay, and it's a PDF. So I'm going to hit Save. All right, and Save PDF. So I'm going to select this thing. I'm going to select my little device that I created here. As soon as it'll let me. There we go. I am going to go Edit Copy, Edit, Paste in Place, okay? And it is pasted right on top of itself. And I'm going to take this little icon, indicates selected art, and I'm going to move it up until it's on the lumber layer. Now watch, I'm going to hide the one in the background. This is no longer, watch the difference. That's yellow. When I click on this, that's green because they're different objects on different layers. I created a second one. Now the reason I did this is so that I can click on this guy right here like this, and I can use my direct selection tool, and I can click on that point right there, and I can actually take that, whoop, I didn't get it right. Hold on, let me do it again. Let me click on just that point right there, and I'm going to click on it, hold the shift key down, and I'm going to just whip it around to the other side and maybe move it out slightly, and look what I did. I just reversed the direction of that. Actually, I think I need to click on it with the direct selection tool, and I need to make it a little bit longer. Just like that. There we go. So look what I did. I used the same exact line, And all I did was I reversed the angle of this by clicking on with the direct selection tool. Remember, there are two tools here. There's a direct selection tool and a group selection tool. When you have a grouped object, you can click on any part of that grouped object with the group selection tool, and it will select that object. If you're working with a series of anchor points, there's an anchor point, there's an anchor point, there's an anchor point, there's an anchor point. If you want to select one singular individual anchor point, you can come in here and you can click on that one anchor point alone, and you can move that anchor point alone. See what I just did? There we go. Okay, so that is the direct selection tool. So now that I've done this, I have my lumber, and this is on the lumber layer. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this Nav, and I'm going to call it Lumber, L-U-M-B-E-R, and hit Save. So now I've built another panel, and this panel is showing me where I can how I get from the kiosk into the lumber layer. This is what I'm saying. This is actually very simple. It is not difficult to do. It's a lot easier than you might think it is if you don't make it hard. I'm trying very hard not to make this hard for you. I'm trying to make it as easy as I possibly can. So that's why I'm doing this over and over again, so that you really get a sense of what's going on. So here I'm going to now select this arrow one more time, and I'm going to go Edit Copy. I'm copying it again, and Edit Paste in Place. And what I did was I copied it and I pasted it right on top of itself. It's showing right here. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to bring it up to the garden layer, and I spelled garden wrong, so let me fix that. G-A. There, garden. It's now on the garden layer, and this thing is set in gray, okay? And actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't want this on the garden layer. I want this on the paint layer, because this is actually going in the direction of the paint layer. I have to create the garden layer separately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change and I'm going to drag this all the way up to the paint layer. Okay, great. So now it's on the paint layer. All I need to do to get this thing to work properly is, once again, grab myself my direct selection tool. I'm going to click on the line. This time what I'm going to do, let me move this out of the way so you can see it. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on that anchor point, hold the Shift key down, and click on that anchor point. So now I have two anchor points selected. I'm going to use the up arrow to just up arrow that all the way up until I get into my paint. And I know I'm confusing you, because what I did was I forgot to hide the lumber. There it is. I just hid the lumber. So all I did was I copied and pasted that to the paint layer, and now this thing is taking you or pointing you to your lumber layer. There it is, or your lumber department. That's basically what's going on here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is go File, Save As again. And this is going to be saved as a PDF. Navigation, and this is going to be Navigation Paint. And then hit Save. Okay, now save PDF. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before with this. I'm just going to rotate that thing around with my direct selection tool. I'm going to click on that anchor point right there, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm just going to whip that thing around like that and bring it over until it hits there. And look at that. Really, really amazingly simple. Okay? And actually, I did one thing wrong. Let's go Edit Undo. I forgot one step. Okay. What I got to do is I got to go Edit Copy, Edit Paste in Place, and then I'm going to move that to Electric. Okay? I'm going to hide the paint. Okay? And, oh, you know what? Edit, Undo. Here's what I did wrong. Edit, Undo, Move Selected, Edit, Undo, Paste in Place. Okay, so what I got to do is I got to select the whole thing with the regular selection tool. Then go Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in Place. There we go. And now I can bring it down to the Electric, hide the paint, and now we're in business. Okay, so I get my direct selection tool, and I'm just going to click on that one anchor point right there. And I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm just going to whip it around over to here. And there we have it. Now that is pointing to the electric, and what we're going to do is go File, Save As, and this one is going to be Nav Electric. E-L-E-C-T-R-I-C, electric, and hit Save. And now we have all of our panels except for the last panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide both of these guys. Let me hide these things. All right, and let me go to my garden layer. Here's my garden layer, and I'm going to select the garden layer. In the meantime, these other layers, I'm going to lock them all because I don't need them. I just need the garden layer. This time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another line. The line is going to come from here, hold the Shift key down, and it's just going to go right over to here. Okay, and there it is. It comes out, and it's a 2-point line because that's what I had on it before. Let's see how I can format this. So go to the window menu, and let's go to stroke again, and let's bring the stroke out. It's 2-point. I don't have to change that. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to get my arrowhead. In this case, the arrowhead is that ball right there, and this guy here is going to be, I believe, that arrowhead right there, and I believe I did 47 on it, so let's go down and make it 47. I think that's it. Yep, 47 I think is right. If it isn't, it doesn't matter. Basically, you get the idea. 47. Let's go 47. I think it's 47. I hope it is. It doesn't matter if it isn't. You get the general idea. There we go. Okay, so now what we have is, and this probably needs to be just a tiny bit further over, like that. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. That'll do it. And maybe this even goes over a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. And that now, just so that you know, that's on the garden layer. So what I have basically is I have my redo, which is my background, and I've created a whole series of layers that have nothing but these little lines that point to each department. That's the whole point here, is that I'm creating these individual panels so that you can quickly and easily determine where you're going. That's the whole thing. Now, if I want, I can click on this thing, and maybe I can move it down a little bit. Let me see. Did I lock it? No, I didn't. I can move this down a little bit. It might look a little bit better if it goes down just a hair and maybe over a bit. That's probably good. I think we can live with that. Now, File, Save As, and this is going to be Nav, N-A-V, and this is going to be Garden, G-A-R-D-E-N. And now look, this is what I want you to see. In my folder for tonight, I have one PDF that says main navigation. I have one PDF that says navigation electric. One that says navigation lumber. One that says navigation paint. One that says navigation tools. One that says welcome screen, and one that says logo. And the final one, which will be navigation garden, I'm about to put in there right now. I'm going to hit save. And now it is done. My project is done. It's ready for me to assemble this project and submit it. Okay? So let me open up. Let me first of all open up. Where are we? Where are you? I guess this is it right here. Okay, so let me close this thing, and let me go to my tools, and let me actually bring this thing down. And let me get rid of this thing, and let me open up the PDFs for the week so that you could see the PDFs. Here are my PDFs. Those are the PDFs. And you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One of them is the logo. The other 7 are the panels that you're going to build for this thing. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to come over here. We're in Acrobat Pro. You've got all of your panels that you created. This is all part of your submission that you're going to send to me for grading. Create a PDF. You're going to come in here in multiple files, and you're going to combine the files, okay? And you're going to hit, I'm going to go back and do that again. So you go to Tools, you go Create PDF, right? And then you're going to go Multiple Files, Combine Files. Hit Next, and you get Add Files. You can add files by clicking the button below or dragging and dropping them. So you can drag and drop these things. So I'm just going to select all of them, and I'm going to drag and drop them in. And there they all are. Now what I'm going to do here, just so that you understand, is I'm going to put these things in the order that I want them in. So I want them in this order. I want my logos first. So I'm going to drag the logos into the first position. I then want my welcome screen next. So I'm going to put my see, so I got my logos, my welcome screen. This is my main, where's my main nav? Right there's my main nav. I think the first one I did was my, right there, my tools. So I'll put my tools there. And then I think my next one I did was my paint. I'll put my paint right there. And the only reason I'm doing this is so I can show you that you can do this, all right? And then the next one I did was the paint, and I think I'll put the paint there. And then the next one I did was the this one here, the electric. Whoops, I don't want that. I want the electric. Yeah, the electric. And then the, what was the next to last one? That is the, that's the main. How did the main get out of position? There we go. Okay, and then the last one is that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. There we are. All of them are in there. And they're all in the order that I want. You see where it says combine right here? You click on combine. And it combines them. And there it is. Now, it's got 8 pages. So watch. I'm going to show you what this thing looks like. I'm going to fit this in window. And I'm just going to go, there's page 1, which is my logos. This is what you're going to send to me so that I can check. And wait till you see how neat mine looks. Yours should look neat too if you do it right. So there's my logos, so I can check your logos. I shouldn't call them logos, but your icons. There is your welcome screen. Looks really nice, doesn't it? And here, that is your main navigational page. Isn't this great? Look at this. And then we go on, and there is our, from kiosk to the tools, from kiosk to the lumber, from kiosk to the painting, from kiosk to the electric, from kiosk to the lawn and garden. There you go. And I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go into my, where is it at here? My week 3 PDFs. Binder 1 is this thing. As a default, it's called Binder 1. But what you're going to do is you're going to change the file name from Binder 1. Oh, just so that you know, don't be fooled. When yours comes out, it's going to say Binder 1. That's what it's going to say. They all basically come out named Binder 1. So you just change the name. And you're going to change the name based on your instructions for submission. I'm just going to put Bill Sweeney. But you would put in, you know, the entire Bill Sweeney, DES 244, assignment 1, week 1, whatever, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's what you're going to do. You're going to hit save. And watch. In a second, I'm going to shut this. I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to show you that there is my binder, which has been named Bill Sweeney. And if I double click on it and open it back up and go View, Fit Artboard, and Window, there are my pages. And that is what you're going to submit to me. And I got to tell you something. If you do this, your work is going to look super deluxe. I'm going to be happy, and you're going to get a good grade. I hope I didn't do this too fast. Just for your information, if you have any problems, any questions, do not hesitate to send me an email. Do not hesitate to give me a call. I'm willing to help you any way that I possibly can. And just for your information, tomorrow's Wednesday. I am not available. I'm not available in Blackboard tomorrow, but I am available in Blackboard Thursday night from, I think it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, 9 o'clock until midnight Mountain Time. And on Friday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And then Saturday from 7 to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. Feel free to come in if you have any problems or if you have any questions. Or, as I say, reach out, give me a call, send me an email. I'm more than willing to help you any way that I can. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.